Right. We are live. We are live on YouTube with Teddy, the comedian, Andrew Bauer, and myself, Courtney Shand. And I am so excited for this live because Teddy runs a Men's Mental Health Monday every week. For how long have you been doing that, Teddy?
I think we are coming up on the 100th show in December. No,
Yeah.
yeah, December or January. So we're
So,
we're
like
probably
two
around,
years?
yeah, almost 2 years. Absolutely.
Wow. So, if you haven't checked him out, that's on Instagram,
Yep,
correct? Okay.
correct.
Every Monday, most Mondays right now. I know you're here right now, so you're not doing it tonight, but
Yeah, no,
mostly every Monday on Instagram at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
absolutely.
But we brought Teddy on because Teddy is passionate about mental health in general, but specifically around men's mental health.
Yeah.
And I wanted to kind of have a conversation with Teddy and Andrew about men and vulnerability, dating. This is a conversation that comes up often with men and what that actually looks like. And you guys, I think, do this really well. So I wanted to get your perspectives on this, what the experience feels like from the inside. I think that's something that I can never speak to because I'm not a man. But I'm really excited to dive into that. So, Teddy, if you want to share a little bit about yourself, and Andrew, introduce yourself as well, and then we can dive in.
Well, my name is Ted, the comedian. I always say I'm your favorite comedian's favorite comedian, but each and every Monday I just go by Teddy or Uncle Ted. I've been doing stand-up comedy for almost 15 years. That's crazy because I feel like I was just 15 years old yesterday. But just for the viewers, I let everybody know that the Men's Mental Health Show actually came from a heartbreak. It came from a heartbreak, and so it's funny that we're talking about relationships. I didn't know how to process the heartbreak. Laughter wasn't working. Now, I'm a 90s R&B guy. I love music. I love when they had the videos and they would do the breakups to makeups, but it actually happened to me. I was like, oh, I didn't expect this to actually happen to me, especially as an adult. And so my co-host, Mr. Pringles, the barber, and I have his hat on because I had to show him some love. He looked at me when I was in the chair and said, hey, man, laughter isn't going to work on this. You have to be vulnerable. And I was like, man, I don't think I'm brave enough to be vulnerable to really share because you're embarrassed. As men, we have egos and we're embarrassed. And he said, I hear you, but you should still do it. Because that's just who Mr. Pringles is. And from there, I started this show, and there were maybe like six people on. And then we just slowly in time just developed more people. We have real conversations. But one of the rules I said is that we don't gender blame. We do not gender blame on my show. You're not going to come on Men's Mental Health Mondays and hear men blaming women, women blaming men. We are here to get to a finish line, to a solution, because that's what we need. Blaming, the world blames each other. Black, white, blue, green, gender, political. We don't need that. We need to figure out how we can come to a solution. And so that's kind of what we do. We are also my marketing strategy, quote unquote, is what goes on during the month. So from Women's Month, Black History Month, Autism Awareness Month, Women's Mental Health Month. I can keep going on Suicide Awareness Month, Domestic Violence and Breast Cancer Month. We That's what we talk about the whole month. We want to spread light. We want to spread awareness. We want to spread that type of joy. And those are tough conversations. Those are not easy conversations to have because we live sometimes in a naive world. We live in a naive world where we don't really want to hear the bad, especially when it has to do with us, with our community, with our culture. We don't want that. And so they're hard. Sometimes me and Mr. Pringles have gotten off and we have got on a phone call, and I'm like, brother, I don't know how I'm gonna sleep tonight. But I get excited about it because one, there's another Monday, and two, I'm very Christian. So, the Bible says one or two are gathered in my name. That's how I look at the show. If I can reach one or two, or even one, and the one may be me, I'm okay with that because one leads to two, two leads to four, four leads to six. So that's just a little bit about it, what I do in the show. And I'm a comedian. I'm a stand-up comedian. So we
Mm,
definitely can talk about the thread that you saw. We can definitely dive into that because my mental health's been a little bit off too. When it came
mm.
to that too, it's rough show.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Well, obviously, feel free to share whatever you want.
yeah.
I don't want to put you on the spot with that. I do want to introduce Andrew real quick, and then we can dive in. Because I know I've got a couple curious questions, and I'm sure Andrew does as well.
Mm. Thank you. So, yeah, my name's Andrew Bauer. I'm not just Courtney's partner. I've actually also done training in the men's wellbeing sides of things. So, would have been, what's the year now? About 15 years ago, I did training with Men's Wellbeing in Australia to facilitate men's work. Did it mostly for my own benefits. Some of the things I was up for, I felt that that type of facilitation was worthwhile, but I've also given back to that community while I was at it. And my own story, I'm not as great of a storyteller as Teddy is. He's extremely good at being able to pull stuff together. But my own version of that is I spent a lot of my life not actually being okay with my own depths. So feeling like it wasn't okay for me to be who I was, but it didn't show up that way. What it showed up as is I don't belong. So I found a
Mm,
lot of times that I didn't feel like I belonged. And when I started to find the areas that my depths could come out at, I started to realize that what it was is that growing up, I didn't have anybody who could be at my depths with me in order to understand them. And so I end up having to suppress a lot of stuff just to have it okay for everybody else. And not as if there's anything wrong with that. I think everybody has varying levels of depth in parts of life. But as a child who's extremely deep, it became difficult to relate and to connect with other people. And the more that I've come back to being okay with the depths that I'm at, one, it's a extremely difficult journey because a lot of the stuff that I was feeling, I pushed down. So therefore, when I start to open to those depths, they all start coming out, and I have to be able to be with what's coming out. It's like having that junk room in your house, and you're kind of shoving everything in the junk room, and then you want to expand and use that room. You got to come and pull all the crap out, sort through it. Same sort of thing, but just at an emotional level. And I think that's why they call it emotional baggage, because it's all the baggage and crap we shove down. So coming back to those depths, I had to pull them all out and start to sift through them and work out what was actually there in comparison to what I thought was there. So just this last piece before we move on, I'm a big believer in perception. So perceptual relating. Like I came across this realization that the results we get in life is based on how things occur for us, as in how we perceive them. Because if you have two people that are getting different results, one person can see things that the other person can't see, and they're accounting for those nuances. And therefore, when I go to relate to someone, ego is just our identity, our sense of self. If our sense of self is built on how we expect others to perceive us and is constantly about worrying about how people perceive us, like I think it's a good thing to consider, but not a good thing to build your sense of self on. Whereas building my sense of self on how I perceive and then being attracted to others that can be with that type of perception, I think that's a more healthier way to build our senses of self.
Thank you for sharing. So I've got a lot of lived experience between the two of you. This has been like a subtle, low-key dream of mine to have a panel of men and just be able to ask questions because I am always talking to men now, but when I was doing work with women, there's so many things that gets lost in translation. And I think that's something that Teddy, that we definitely agree on, is that this isn't a space to blame one side or the other. We are really putting forward something that is new, something that challenges us to rise to our fullest potential, as well as seeing the other side with some compassion and being able to see the humanity and really lean into that. So
Why don't you
I
just
kind
put us on the
of
spot and do a low key panel? I reckon that'll be fun.
okay.
What's your thoughts, Teddy?
Let's do it.
Are
Hey,
you guys
I'm out.
open to it?
Hey, I'm ready.
Cool.
Let's do it.
You're ready to
Let's
make a
do it.
dream come true. That's amazing. Thanks.
Let's do it.
Well, I do want to just start with like this idea of vulnerability because I think this is a word that gets tossed around a lot, and I'm really wondering if you guys would weigh in first of all, so we're on the same page. As men, like what does that mean to you, and what does that look like in practice? I don't want to ask too many questions, but a different like flavor of it is like what has surprised you as you've practiced it that maybe you hadn't thought of before.
Well,
You're the guest, Teddy. I'll let you
Andrew,
go first.
okay, okay, appreciate that. Well, vulnerability requires bravery. Okay, so that's the first thing, and this is just in my eyes. Vulnerability requires bravery, but also men, you have to see a man be vulnerable in order to learn it. So a lot of men these days are learning it on the fly. Our fathers, I guess, are these manly men that they definitely didn't have it. They didn't. It was just, you don't cry, you do push-ups. Nobody's going to listen to you. We're kind of in a new age where, quote unquote, millennial dads, quote unquote, are teaching the boys how to be vulnerable and how to receive love and how to be okay with sharing and knowing that it may not always go your way. I think the first time that vulnerability or sharing breaks your heart is within your house with your parents. Because what's the line? And I don't know if you, Andrew, or you, Courtney, have dealt with this of if you tell the truth, I won't be mad. Then the truth comes and you wake up an hour later, you know, because she done knock you through a wall or something like that. So we're in a new age of this vulnerability. Now, this is just me. And again, this is not gender blaming, but I do, and I don't know, Miss Gordon, if we talked about this on Monday, but I feel like we're not one, we don't teach men how to receive love and receive any type of space. But I also have noticed that we're even with my nieces, didn't teach them how to create the space to create love. So it's still this happening, and we're just trying to. Excuse, I just did a 6-7. Jesus Christ! Oh my God, these kids got me doing this. Um, but I think that's where we're at, honestly, with vulnerability, with creating those spaces for men, and then also I do believe we need more Andrews out there. We need more people to stand in front of a camera, stand in front of people, and share your story because all men really need to know, as much as we need therapy, and Mr. Andrew, tell me if I'm wrong, we just need to know that another brother's going through it, just like me. And I'm not saying that it'll make it better in certain aspects, but what I'm saying is to know that I'm not alone in this fight. And I look to my left and I got Mr. Andrew right there, and he's trying to go through the same thing that I'm going through mentally, emotionally. It's like, okay, I'm not alone. I can move forward. Now, after that, that's where we need to be a little tougher on men too. We just can't baby these brothers out here. There's a line that I put that Miss Courtney, I know you read on my threads that said perfection is the starting line, and that's where we need to be. And then I'll explain that a little bit later. But there's no excuse. We can't always say, "Well, my past, my past." Every time you look in the rear view, you crash. That's why, because you keep looking in the rear view. What are you doing today? What are you looking through that front? So, uh, I say all that to say with vulnerability, we need to teach, we need to be taught, we need to be shown. We need to understand that vulnerability is like a job interview. You're not going to always get it the first time. It's going to hurt. It's supposed to hurt. I tell my biblical people, the Bible never said everything was perfect. If everybody won, we wouldn't be having these conversations and the world would have no evil. So that's what I say about vulnerability.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that, and I got probably another angle to look at it as well. So um, I I see vulnerability as the ability for to allow people to see us, our deeper true selves. And I think the reason why it hurts is because we haven't seen ourselves yet. And as you were saying with Teddy, with the in the childhood sides of things, you're not going to get in trouble with if you tell the truth, and then all of a sudden you tell it and you're in trouble. What we then learn is to shut that side of us down. So therefore, we're not willing to go there anymore because it's been unsafe for that. And I think there's an element of unsafety is being able to see both sides of unsafety. One, it was unsafe for us to be that way. But what we've also taken on now as an identity is that this part of us is unsafe. So now we don't go anywhere anymore because when we go there, out there becomes unsafe. And as a child, that had a lot of truth to it. Now that we're adults and older, I think there's an element of being able to go inside and be with those elements and bring safety to it. Because safety, psychological safety, usually comes, in my personal experience, through understanding and curiosity. So bringing understanding, bringing curiosity to it, allows us to go from a indiscriminated logic, as in here's a belief that this is just how it is and that's all there is to it, to recognizing that there is situations, scenarios, circumstances where maybe that expression is not fully appropriate, but it doesn't mean it's not appropriate altogether. Like an example I have is when I talk to someone saying, is it okay to punch someone in the face? And you normally get a unanimous no. However, if I now chuck in there, what if they're coming at you with a knife? It's like, yeah, okay, have at them. Or what happens if you're in a boxing ring with a friend and you cop him one in the face? He's just going to be going like, fair call, I didn't have my block up, that's on me. So I don't think there's I think the attitude of absolutism, of this is wrong or this is right, is what causes that level of unsafety in comparison to appropriateness, as in this behavior in this circumstance is inappropriate and here's why. Whereas over here, when you're doing it, not a problem. And there's a lot, obviously a lot of complexity and nuance within this, especially around the adult sides of things, saying, well, you're not going to get in trouble if you say the truth, but then as soon as you do, you're getting walloped. Well, obviously they're dealing with their own personal feelings that come up with that, and their own absolutism on those feelings for themselves. Because when we're doing feelings as an empathetic tribe, whatever I'm feeling, you're going to have an experience of that. And if you've learned that that feeling is not okay, you're going to try and shut it down. And if you're not willing to, as an adult, be with that and then co-regulate the child, then it's going to perpetuate this element of that feeling is unsafe. And now you've got behaviors that try to prevent the feeling from occurring. And it all gets collapsed into identity to automate the feelings from not arising again. So yeah, I think vulnerability is around being able to come back into those depths for ourselves and be okay with being seen, realizing that it's not an absolutism of right and wrong, but rather a circumstantial thing, and being able to go, okay, well, when I applied this behavior in the circumstance, it didn't get the response I'm after. I'm curious what I missed, because if I'd seen something different, maybe I would have acted different. And I think, Teddy, what you were saying around people sharing their story gives permission to drop into those depths. It creates a place of safety because of curiosity and wonder that starts to show up around, oh, you're seeing this from a different angle that I hadn't seen it from before. So I'm wondering if there is another way to look at this. And I think that's what creates the continuous safety. And you're right, courage is needed to be seen that way, considering what we learned in childhood is we're going to get walloped.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really good point. I know we deal with a lot of deep people, especially men, with some depth, and kind of allowing them to drop back into that depth and let that be a normal experience and have someone explore that with them is often a new experience to have, something that opens up a lot of insights for them. But I'm curious, how does that definition for each of you of vulnerability, how did that impact you when you started dating, or if you're dating still, Teddy? I don't know your scenario, but how did that shift when you started to bring vulnerability online in relationships in general? What did you notice?
Well, for me, I can say that my father was a 6'2", 280 pound man from Georgia, that was born in the 40s. And my father was the definition of a teddy bear, the quote unquote alpha male that, this world says. But my father raised me that a man doesn't have to raise his voice. He can be vulnerable. He can cry. I need people to understand that my father had pistols. My father didn't play. My father drank white lightning straight. If anybody know what white lightning is, you know it's some hard liquor. Some hard liquor. My father told me, and he taught me, almost what Simba's father off Lion King, when to be brave. You don't have to be brave all the time. That's what my father taught me. So at a young age, I was taught a little bit different how to be a man. Um, so growing up, again, now I didn't listen to my first rap album since I was like 14, 15. I'm growing up on blues. I'm growing up on R&B. I'm growing up on Christian music. I'm growing up on all these love, this type. And it was new because it didn't work all the time, or it was used. Um, it blocked my selection of women, you know, and how it looked. But at 35, after going through therapy, after going through the traumas and the ups and downs, I realized I'm okay with being that man. I'm okay with loving on a woman, being vulnerable with the right person. I'm okay because I also realize is that dating literally is a job interview. And are you going to be broke, or are you going to go to the next interview? One interview teaches you how to be better to the next interview, and you keep going until the right job fits. See, a lot of times what we do is if you are a square in a circle, you try to fit your square into that circle. Now you have resentment. Now you get to blaming. Go find another square. Go find a piece, another piece. But that takes courage. That takes the vulnerability. That takes that it's going to be a marathon and not a sprint. You have to understand that it takes getting away from social media, seeing all the negativeness, what men should be, what women should be. Like, that's what it takes. I'm still trying to figure it out. I still have moments where I self sabotage. I still have moments where I feel like I've wasted women's time and didn't mean to. I still have those moments. You're supposed to. That's why you cry when you walk down the aisle. That's why you cry when you see somebody walking down the aisle. See, it's something about it, Mr. Andrew. I know you're going to point this out. There's something about our heart that we protect to a point where it's what's the word, cringy. I can't believe they would hurt me. You weren't supposed to get it right at 16. You don't even know who you are. You weren't supposed to get it right at 25. You don't know who you are. You're supposed to go through those. Those are the battles. It's like going to the gym. Dating, vulnerability, love. It's like going to the gym. You're not going to be able to do 225 the first day. You may not can do the bar. But if you stay consistent, You understand that there's going to be failure in 2 months, in 3 months. You may not be able to do 225, but you can do 150. That's 150 more than you could do yesterday. That's where the perfection is the starting line comes to in dating and loving and vulnerability. You have to understand that perfection, everything's not really perfect, but I'm going to get there. And I understand there are steps to becoming perfect, to becoming everything. From sports, you can win a championship and the coach still isn't happy. So that's kind of like my when it comes to dating and things like that. Am I dating? Yes, there's a woman that wants to put up with me. It's crazy. I think that's nuts. I think that's nuts every time I get a text message. I'm like, you sure? Me?
Andrew, is there anything you want to add to that? Because I've got a follow-up question after that.
Okay. Do you want to do the follow-up question while you're on it, and then I'll come back to mine because I've probably got a bit of in-depth.
Yeah. Teddy, I'm so curious as a comedian, how do you balance humor and vulnerability? Because I think there's I remember someone saying that people who are funny are some of the most intellectual, some of the most intelligent people because you have to be very perceptive of people and situations. And I'm wondering how that plays into vulnerability because I think it's also the same with vulnerability. There's probably an edge of vulnerability to be funny, is what I think of with humor. There's an edge to vulnerability. How do you balance that edge?
Well, comedy. Okay, we can mix this with like the threads. What you saw. The only woman I will ever, if I have a wife, the only woman I will ever cheat on her with is comedy.
So comedy is a woman.
Comedy is a woman to me,
Okay. Okay.
and you gotta love on her. You gotta treat her right. It's because it's the craft, right? And what comedy did was what for everybody watching. My government name is Antoine. Sometimes I forget it. The only time I remember it is when I have to pay a bill because that's what they call me, Antoine, when they're calling me. Comedy did, Teddy the comedian spoke and did what Antoine couldn't do. So when Antoine couldn't see tomorrow, Teddy could. So, comedy for me, when I was going through the death of my parents, trying to navigate childhood into adulthood, I would take what I went through. And because I couldn't face it, my brain said, well, make somebody laugh with it. So, when I get on stage, so Mr. Andrew, what she's talking about is I had a comedy show here in Columbus, Ohio, COSI. COSI is like, what's the, something. I forgot what it's called, but the kids goes like a museum, but they rent it
Mm-hmm.
out. And I did two comedy shows, both comedy shows out of a 10. In my eyes, I did a three. And the only reason I give myself a three because I showed up and my opening joke hit both times. Both shows, my opening joke cracked. I put a lot of pride into what I do. I may not be the greatest boyfriend. I may not be the greatest uncle. I may not be the greatest brother, but Teddy the comedian, phew, he's great. He's perfect. He's magical. And I got on that stage and I'm emotional because I let him down. My preparation, what it takes to be a comedian, what it takes to get booked. There are comedians that you guys hear that they say I'm a comedian and they haven't been booked since the 90s. But I get the opportunity to do 70 to 100 shows a year. And I went up there and it just wasn't clicking. Normally it clicks. I lost my mother September 20th. I was on stage. I think it was the first week in October. back in 2012, and I killed the show. My brain says that if you can get on stage after you lose your mother and get a standing ovation and people are holding their stomachs, you can battle through anything. That's what my brain says. That's the perfection as a starting line. So now I get on stage in a better space and better whatever I'm going through, and it wouldn't click. It wasn't clicking. I, for the last 48 hours, have felt like a failure. Now here's where love comes in. Here's where grace comes in. I earned people saying it's a one-off show. See, you were trying to make 1,000 people laugh. And yes, every show you can do that. You can make everybody laugh. But this time, Teddy, you only can make 100 people. You only can make 200 people. But to me, that wasn't good enough because the economy is crazy. Somebody paid $65 to come to that event. They got the best, they got the gowns and the heels and the suits on. And they came to my show and I let them down. I let her down. My preparation wasn't good enough for it. I must have didn't lock in. So that's what comedy is. And it's crazy that I can normally take what happens on the outside and I can put it into it. And this time I couldn't. And I've been tore down by it. When I mean tore down, I mean I slept all day yesterday. I slept all day yesterday. My brain couldn't process it. I just kept replaying the failure. I kept replaying the confusion. And Miss Andrew, what you didn't see on threads that Miss Courtney saw was that'll never happen again. And I put that on my mama. I will never let Teddy down. I will never let comedy down. I will over prepare. I'll never lose a championship again because I care that much because that's what comedy has done for me. That's what she has done for me. Laughter is healing. To be able to go into all white establishments, to be able to go into the LGBT establishments, to whatever establishment you have, and I can have you holding your stomach laughing, it's a gift. And those people, I couldn't even make them laugh. We had a headliner. I don't know if you ever seen the show Martin. Back in the day, there was a character called he was Bruh Man from the fifth floor. He used to climb through Martin's window. He was the headliner. And I can tell you on this that a lot of people came to see him, but a lot of people came to see Teddy the Comedian because last year Teddy Comedian tore the house down. Thursday, Teddy tore the house down where I was at. The week before, there were people that saw me the week before that said, "You're going to be at this event? Can't wait to see you." Then they bring a friend. So Miss Courtney sees me live. Mr. Andrews never seen me live. Miss Courtney brings Andrew, and I let Miss Courtney down because she brought Andrew. That's how my brain processes. That's what I'm going through right now. That vulnerability got on stage, and I couldn't get the punch that I want to.
It
So I'm
almost
actually
feels like,
go
sorry, go
ahead,
ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Well, it feels like the vulnerability is the experience now that you're in,
Yes,
of
yes,
reckoning with what happened and how you want to move forward based on what you value and what you, the standard that you have for yourself,
yeah, absolutely,
being with the humanness of the experience that you're in.
yeah,
So it sounds like that may be the vulnerable piece.
yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. So that's just a little bit of that's what I do on comedy, man. I want everybody to be able to laugh. My comedy, I say, is CBS. It's mainstream comedy where I'm talking about things that are going on in the world. I'm talking about my life. I want everybody to be able. I don't want you to sit there and say, I have it's funny, but I don't know what he's talking about. I want you to be able to like, hell yeah, eggs high. We all struggling. Either white, black, we all struggling. I want that type of feel. So comedy has helped, and it's helped the show too. It's helped the men's mental health because even in seriousness, we laugh. We laugh because laughing helps us do a lot. It helps us do a lot.
One thing I appreciate about your show, I was watching one of your lives, and you do such a great job, in my opinion, of bringing the right amount of humor and also the right amount of humanity. I keep saying that when I describe Teddy. It's like he brings the humor and the humanity and like kind of melds it together in a way that makes the conversation not only palatable but like relatable, something that
Yep.
you would want to lean into. And I think that you are really exceptional at that
Thank you.
intersection. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Andrew, I know I put you on pause. Is there anything that's coming up for you that you wanted to share around vulnerability
Sure, I remember
yeah,
the question,
and
so I'll
connection?
bring it back around. I believe the question was in my previous dating and relating sides of things. um how did vulnerability come, and how did my understanding shift it? At least
Yeah.
that's the question I heard, so that's the one I'll answer.
Okay.
I I spent a lot of my earlier years, 20s, even to my 30s, where I dated, but it felt like I could never get that connection. And as much as I tried and had all this effort to do it, it just I would get glimpses of connection, and then there was a lot of non-connection. And there was a few things in my life that opened up awareness that allowed it to shift where I could actually land in who I am. Um, I I remember with because I've been married before, my ex-wife, when I first met her, I was actually at an event that a friend had done, and he called it unconventional matchmaking. And he was flipping things on its head. Instead of everybody coming and looking for certain traits, it's what traits do you bring? And there was this element of I couldn't work out my traits, and my housemate rattled off five. But he said something interesting. He said, relationships are shared experience. What experience are you offering? And that actually gave me a lot of freedom, because I went, well, I know what experience I want, so therefore that's the one I'm offering. Um, and that I'm looking to build that out as a shared experience. So I walked into the event extremely confident, because I figured if anyone said, well, that's rubbish, I'd be like, oh, just means it's not for you. Fair enough. Off you go. Whereas if someone said my traits were rubbish, I would have taken that personally, like everybody else was hesitant about. Um, So that was one of the first things I noticed, was starting to be aware of what experiences that I want and owning those. The other one that came around as a realization is the notion of compatibility. I think there's not enough conversation in compatibility within relationship sides of things, and therefore we get into something that seems like it's a good fit, and then as we're going along, it becomes clearer that it's not, and then we don't do anything about it, assuming that there's something wrong with us. Whereas all it comes down is to that these two people aren't compatible for what you're up for. And that in its own right, again, because if you're really committed into something like a marriage, it's really hard to have to admit that and work through it. And unravel what you've been putting together, and all of the envisioning, all the stuff that you've been trying to do together, all of that starts to fall apart, and you have to be able to be with that and be with the other person and their humanity at the same time. So yeah, I think there's very much, when it comes to that type of vulnerability, being able to one, be clear on what you desire, but two, also recognize that in any point, like you said, Teddy, with when you're 16, you don't know what you want. And at any point in life, I think that's always going to be the case, because I think what we want starts to unfold for us as we get into new situations. So going into a relationship, I think this is why courtship existed, and that's kind of disappeared, which I think is a travesty. Because if you go from dating straight into marriage, then you haven't spent time living together to validate what you thought was the case. And I think there's an element of courtship of being able to go, okay, well, let's actually live together and see what that's like. And the fact that courtship's disappeared actually shows up in two fronts. Some people just go straight into marriage, and others end up in a version of courtship indefinitely because they haven't considered what it is that they're really after and willing to commit to it. And there's usually some fear around what commitment means, where I think meaning is always, again, situational and contextual. And that each person can come to their own definition of certain meanings, that it's not intrinsic and inherent, but rather that what marriage looks like for some people is monogamous and others it's non-monogamous, or there's some other element to what that type of commitment means, and that it's a negotiation. So the other side of it for me was a really big realization, and this is again in alignment with what you were saying before, Teddy. I can't remember exact point, but one of the things that flipped on its head for me was to stop looking for the relationship, but rather
Mm.
to come at it from the lens of a shared life together. And when I started to realize that what I'm doing is building a shared life together, which was an enhancement of the shared experience piece, I then had to look at my life and went, well, if I was to share this with a woman, do I want it? Because if she comes in and has a look at it and assumes that this is what I want, then I'm not painting the right picture of what it is I'm actually after.
Hmm.
So starting to get clear on what do I want as a life, what I want as expressions, and what are the different areas of life to want to be in, and just start working on it. And that way, as I'm working in those areas, it actually made it a lot easier to find my ideal partner. And that's actually how you and I met, Courtney, was we were in communities together. And that as we were working and discussing things and working through stuff, realizing how much we had compatibility and were in alignment with what we're after. And the things we're after required more than one person, that there was so much compatibility within that, and Clary's another thing, that it became easier to just explore in that direction and come at it from, as you were saying before, Teddy, like the job interview piece, vetting each other, being able to say, okay, this is what I'm up for, and this is what this is who I am, and that way, if in your instance, if you had said to me, oh look, this doesn't work for me, the realization that it's like, well, it just means that it doesn't work for you. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing and I should be ashamed of that and hide that. It's just like, okay, we're now back to compatibility, and that we're just not compatible at this level of intimacy, because our relationship is at level of intimacy. This is why we've got partners. This is why we've got friends. This is why we've got acquaintances, because there's different levels of proximity in intimacy and affection.
I love what you said about courtship. Courtship is a lost art,
Mm,
and it how do I say this? The only thing I'm ever gonna blame is social media, because social media has courtship is a marathon. Courtship is based off of what that person likes when you get to know them. And I feel like one, courtship is a lost art, but two, I don't think people know how to court. I don't think people know how to receive courtship.
hmm
Like I love what you said about that, because courtship is like it's like a warm call to the next thing. It's like the bridge.
hmm
And now you want to know why you're drowning. I've always said, let's jump past the honeymoon stage. Let's enjoy the honeymoon stage for a week, and then let's get to the nitty gritty.
hmm
But courtship isn't. Oh my God, courtship used to be. That was the vulnerability. That was the innocence. That was the boy meets girl, and you're hoping that she likes the flowers or she likes certain things. Or for the young ladies, they try to do something small, like whatever they do. And that's just somebody just took that and threw it like a football. That's what, and I love that you said that. I heard that courtship, and that's what relationships on anything is missing. And that's what I would tell people. Don't change who you are in the process that you have, especially to the fellas. If you are a lover and she doesn't like flowers, take those flowers and you know what? Go find another one. Somebody is sitting there at the house right now watching this or ready to watch the replay, and she's like, boy, I wish I had some lilies.
Hmm.
I wish I had some sunflowers. And you so busy upset that that wall don't like the flowers, forget that wall. Forget if they don't want flowers, don't let them like flowers. Or maybe they just don't want the flowers from you. Go listen, there are plenty. When I mean plenty, I mean plenty of people waiting. There are young ladies waiting. You're not going to meet them at this perfect event. You may be at a gas station. That woman's going to love flowers. You may be at a pizza joint, and that man is going to love that you would buy him a small personal pizza. But we're just so afraid. We're just so afraid to do that courtship part. Like it's going to be scary. It's supposed to be.
Mm.
It's supposed to be
What is it that makes it scary? I'm like, this is something I
control,
would love to hear from men. Okay.
control.
The allowing it to expand into the unknown, or the
Yeah.
commitment, or.
I think it's also that it's seen as something outside of what we can relate to, but not even in
Mm,
a conscious way. It's a like, oh, what is this thing? And it's completely unrelatable. Um, and I'm going to chime in with you. I'm not going to blame social media in totality, but rather the lens that's being portrayed through social media, because it's a great platform for mass portrayal. I think the lens of the current dating and relating sides of things is still to how do I get the woman, as if she's some sort of prize to win. And therefore, a lot of the advice then becomes about how do I need to present in order for her to pick me. And that's very inauthentic. If I'm going to be flat out and straight to the point, that is extremely inauthentic. Rather, being able to go, how do I be more of myself so the types of women that are attracted to this type of person are able to see me better. And all the ones that aren't attracted to it will gravitate away. So then I need to be okay with people leaving my space. And I think what's happening with the current dating and relating sides of things is all of the advice is geared to getting the girl or to the marriage sides of things. It's a specific point in time instead of to a lifestyle together. And in software engineering, because I spent 25 years in digital transformation, in software engineering, we call this day zero or day one, trying to just get it to day one. And
mhm.
what you're not considering is what's required after the fact. It's like, great, someone's chosen it, we've got it in, and it's all good, only to find that as things are starting to happen, you actually hadn't fully thought through and considered the reality of the situation. And I think the biggest perpetrator for this is the misconception of the friend zone. It's like, oh, I'm in the friend zone, and that what I need to do is not be a friend to her. Well, if you now really look at this and reason about it, you're about to go into a decades long relationship with someone that you're not a friend with.
Mm.
That is insane. That is absolutely insane to turn around and go, I need to treat her like crap and not be a friend with her and all this type of stuff. And all you're doing is perpetuating past mistakes that the past generation had made by not being a friend and a partner first. So I think the issue with most people when they get locked in the friend zone is actually that they're following limerence, not true attraction. And limerence is twofold. It's a attraction to dysfunction, but it's also when someone comes into our space, there's a feeling that we experience with them in our space. And instead of associating the feeling to something that came in us, we associate it with something with them. So then we hold on to them and like we can't get this feeling anywhere else. And instead of looking at it going, well, here's a feeling that I can feel and I like feeling it. Now, how do I make it conducive to be able to feel more of it and not attach it to the person? So yeah, the element then with friend zone is that here's someone that isn't meeting us fully, and we get crumbs of that feeling, and we assume that we can't get it anywhere else. So then we stay in a situationship where they're getting a certain amount of a need met, but we're not getting a deeper need met, and there's no engagement in that. So first off, if they're not fully seeing us and meeting us where we need to be, and they don't feel like they can based on the type of relationship we would want with them, there is an element of them to turn around saying, look, I can't give that to you. The second part is that you need to own that and do something about it. Now, if this is a type of woman that you can't then reclassify it, is probably a way to say it, instead of it being a potential partner going, okay, well, can I still just be friends with her because there is an interesting connection here? If there's too much in there that it takes it down a sexual path, that you couldn't be friends with her, in my opinion, better to walk away, because you're creating this situation where you can't have that type of relationship with someone else. But if you're like, you know what, there is a bunch of things here and I could still be friends with them as long as I have a level of remove proximity so that it's not all the time, otherwise it'll get confused, then maybe that's the case. But the main point is that if it's not working for you and what you're experiencing is these heightened elements of attraction, because limerence is a form of attraction, then, and it's pulling you out of your sense of self, then you need to own that and be able to go, okay, this isn't the type of attraction that I'm after. That's me being attracted to dysfunction, to not being more of myself. Whereas true attraction, when we feel it, has us be even more grounded in ourselves, and our partner wants us to be even more grounded, because in the process of us being more of ourselves, it helps them be more of themselves, and vice versa. So yeah, I think one of the biggest issues with the current dating and relating advice is stemming from the element of trying to get you to just the dating piece, and then perpetuating that indefinitely without really thinking it through. And that it's really based around it's still pickup artistry when it really comes down to it. It's just got a sheen over the top of it. And it's purely just this element of who do you need to be for her to choose you, instead of how do you be more yourself so you can find the person that's truly compatible for you. And that way you can take friendship to a whole nother level.
I like that you say that, because I think that that dynamic is foundational. And I think it is often misconstrued. Thank you for bringing some nuance to that.
What you said, I want to piggyback real quick. What you said about friendship and that friend zone. I need the fellas to understand this. If you're watching, it's okay to get in that friend zone and say, this wasn't worth it. It's okay. You get in that friend zone and you want to build a friendship and you looking like, whoa, I don't like the characteristics. I don't like this. Leave. We have such this, and I do it too. We have such this, I'm this man and I can get her to change. If you're in that friend zone, like Mr. Andrew was talking about, and that friend doesn't have the character, the foundation that you value, that you desire, leave. I don't like your character with this. Because, excuse me, because if friend zone is the foundation, the friendship is building the foundation. You don't want that foundation to be rocky or have holes in it. You look like, I'm okay. See, that's the problem. We can go through all those methods We start as friends, we build, but hey, every friend isn't good. Every friend is not good, fellas. And I tell the ladies the same thing. Every friend isn't good. Don't waste your time or your energy because now you have to look in the mirror. See, that person been that person since that person was that person. I'm
Mm.
gonna say that again. That person been that person since that person was that person, and you're coming into it. If you don't, I always say one of my metaphors I always uses, we're merging on the highway together. We're merging on this highway, and sometimes, hey, that highway isn't for you. Sometimes the car isn't for you. Sometimes that road and that path isn't for you. And it starts with friendship. And sometimes it's okay to say, hey, I'm okay. But then we get so caught up in I wasted my time. Well, what were you supposed to do? How would you have found out? Guess,
Mm.
magic.
That's a good point.
It's okay to take that breath. We tried. I thought this was, I'm okay. That doesn't make
I'm
him a
gonna.
bad person. Go ahead, Miss Andrew.
I'm. I was going to say I'm going to piggyback on your piggyback because you know me. I like nuance. I would add to what you're saying of first and foremost own your desire, because I suspect the reason why you're in this apparent friend zone is because you haven't owned your desire. And then Courtney, you and I have spoken about this before around that presence that women talk about is comes when you own your desire. And if you've got desire showing up, you just flat out owning it, not in the sense of that they have to, but rather owning it as an invitation of going, hey, this is what I want. I'm seeing something in you. I want to explore this. Are you open to it? And if they say no, that's when you can walk away and go, okay, that's fair enough. Like everybody's not for everyone, and that's not a problem. If you don't own your desire, she can't feel that. So therefore, what happens is you show up as a friend, therefore she treats you as a friend. If you're wanting more than a friend, then you're stuck in what you're calling the friend zone because you're not owning your desire. And what you're being called to do is to build on friendship and own your desire piece. And yeah, like I think there's been many cases where both sides have wanted this desire, but neither one could own it. And unfortunately, with our society, it is extremely hard for women to own that type of desire because they will be perceived a certain way, and reputation is a massive thing that women have to consider and account for. Men too, everybody does, but there's dire consequences for women in that way. Whereas us men, we got broad shoulders and usually can turn around and go stuff yourself and walk off type thing. But the sides of it being able to go, okay, this is what I desire, being able to own that actually pushes it into the visceral sides of things. So women pick up on our visceral cues, and that comes about by what we're owning. If we don't own it, they can't feel it. So therefore, they can't opt in to something that you're not presenting. Nor can they truly opt out to something that you're not presenting. So you're stuck in this limbo because you're not presenting it.
Mm.
I like what both of you guys said. Of at some point, you're putting in the time and exploring this connection, whatever level it is, and you can always opt out. I think that's a skill that a lot of people need to strengthen that muscle. And to your point, Andrew, there's the skill of like embodying and owning what we're saying is owning the desire piece, so that is what she is able to engage with, so that you're not having her guess, and that you're also not disrespecting yourself by not putting forward this need and then holding her accountable for something that you haven't provided what she needs in order to meet you there. Yeah. We could talk about this for a lot longer. And I know we're at the top of the hour, so I want to wrap things up. Is there anything else that, Teddy, that
Hang on,
you want? Oh,
I just saw
is
in the
there a
chat and I'm
lag?
just going into it. Yeah, there's a
Oh,
chat piece.
I've been
Uh,
I've been watching the phone over here, and
that's all right. I don't only just saw it come up, so I saw it and I
okay,
figured I'd grab it.
great.
Do we have to verbalize it to them or just own it internally? It sounds like it's really hit a chord with the owning piece. Um, I think both. First off, own it internally, because if we don't own it internally, then we're not showing up as being congruent. And at some point, you're going to have to verbalize it. Like, if you think about it, we're talking about deep levels of intimacy. If you can't talk about it, then how can you expect it to happen? You have to be comfortable to talk about it to truly be comfortable with doing it. And being able to own it internally will facilitate that ability to start being comfortable with talking about it. So if you're not comfortable with talking about it with them, I would suggest finding safe environments that you can talk about it with other people, like other deep men, other people that you feel more comfortable talking about, so you get used to it. I'm curious on your thoughts on that one, Teddy.
Yeah.
So this is gonna okay.
He's about to go off.
Owning it is scary, and then owning it sometimes leads to self-sabotage
What do you mean?
because when you own it, so let's just say, okay, two friends, boy, Teddy meets girl, we're friends. Yeah, this is deeper. I'm like, yo, this is deeper. This is it. You want to accept it, and then it's nah, boom, you gone because it's owning something and accepting it is a vulnerability and it's scary. It's an emotion that is fearful. So it leads to self-sabotage. It
Mm,
leads to, and even self-sabotage is not in my eyes, self-sabotage can be disdain friends for the rest of your life. That's your friend. You don't want to, I nope, nope, I'm okay. I don't want to mess nothing up. I'm just gonna keep it where it's at because there's so many layers of self-sabotage. That's why I had to take a deep breath and think about it because I love what you said, like, or even putting it out there. So now you're putting it out there, and that's a non-controllable. You once it's out there, it's non-controllable, right? Sometimes you put it out there and it's just like, what did I just do? Now I'm on top of a roof and things are getting dizzy. Oh God, I don't know what's happening. That can happen
Mm,
as well. And then that's why I come back and say, like, dating is a job interview. It's like getting on stage. It's like getting on live on YouTube. You're going to say some things. It may not go over. You could have looked in the chat and heard, man, that's the worst crock of shit I've ever heard from any people. We could have heard, like, that's what I mean. So like owning it, and it's just, it can lead to self-sabotage. But I try to tell people, um, you're not always going to get it right.
mm,
But I feel like sometimes even in that failure, and I guess I'm talking to myself with my comedy too, when you're dating, I look at it like this: if you're friends or whatever you are, and you're trying to take that next step, I would tell the viewers to understand, even if it doesn't work, know that you were able to take that step. See, sometimes you got to find the win. So when we look at basketball or football or whatever sports you like, and that team is getting a butt whooped, the coach always talks about, well, where was the win? Reporters say, where was the win at? Well, the last 5 minutes, even though we know we were getting blown out, they still competed. You have to still compete. I know you're getting your butt whooped. I had to finish my set. I know it wasn't going over, but I got paid for a set that I had to finish. And I feel like
mm,
people, when you look at it, people are like, no, I don't want to finish this. No, finish what you started, even if you know. Have the character. So she doesn't like you. You own it. You put it out there, and this will be the time that she didn't want more. We were just great friends. Don't change your character. It's going to hurt. Yes. I call it future grieving. You don't
Mm,
imagine that it worked. You're going about
mm,
to go on this date. Things are great. Have that character. Own it. Finish the race. It's going to hurt. But guess what? You were able to be vulnerable enough to do it.
mm,
It's interesting. I would look at, if I'm self-sabotaging, it means that I'm not owning it enough. That's how
I
I
think I
see it.
think it's I think it's both though. I love what you're saying, but I think in ways it's both because
Well,
some people
how,
go ahead,
like
go ahead.
how I just yeah, how I distinguish it is accepting that this is something I want. I agree,
Yeah,
and if we don't go beyond acceptance to deeper ownership, that this matters to me, and I need to make sure it is expressed and accounted for, as in an experience, a need, and a desire, is something that must exist in my life, and that's what we then have the character to deliver on. I think that's ownership, whereas
yeah,
just knowing it and accepting that, yes, I have a desire, can lead to self sabotage because we haven't built it down as being this is important to me, so much so that I'll walk away if it doesn't show up. Like how I see what you're talking about with comedy, that's true ownership. It's like, regardless, I need to make sure I fully deliver on, even if it's at my worst, because we can't have our best days all the time, that I fully commit and fully complete it because that's who I said I'm going to be. And that's just what's important to me. That's ownership to me.
mm,
Accepting that I've done comedy before and calling myself a comedian is the same as what you were saying before to the ones that haven't done a show since the 90s. And I don't think that's true ownership. And vulnerability comes from that deeper level of ownership. So, yes, it's going to hurt, like doing the muscles. But if we haven't if we're self sabotaging, it's because we either haven't owned it enough or there's something else about ourselves that we haven't owned, and we need to look into to see why is this pattern showing up, and how do I start to see it from a different angle, because it is contrast that shows us the bigger picture.
mm, mm.
Sorry, I'm
That's
very
what I was.
passionate on this one, Teddy, and it's one of the ones I really like to push on to uh, get to that same place. And words are one of the big things that mean to me. And I'm sorry if I've pushed across onto you a interpretation of it.
no, no, no. I love it. I love it because the great part about it is what you've been through. You've
Mm,
seen the other side. You've
mm,
seen both sides. You're still battling through both sides. That's the great part about it. I
mm,
battled my side. The great part is we're getting to the finish line, the same finish line together, a different way.
Mm,
There are millions of men going my way. There are millions of men going your way. You didn't push anything. You didn't do, listen, you pushed a great deal of greatness. That's what
mm.
you did. I loved it. Listen, with the first conversation we had, I got off the car and I said, good Lord, brother, that brother, boy. I don't know what I was going through, man. But no, you didn't. I loved it. I Because people need to keep, especially men, because we are, I stay in men's business because I'm a man. Um, there are different kinds of men, and all men need to know there is a path and a way to the finish line. You can get there, and you don't have to bash the next man to do it
mm,
because it was great conversation. It was, again, I love the word piggyback because
Mm,
that's what we were doing. We were You were throwing out a point. Somebody could have understood your point, but not really understood. Here I come piggybacking off that point. Boom, I got it. I said something they understood, but they really didn't. Here comes Mr. Andrew. Oh, now I got it. That's what you're supposed to do. That's the vulnerability that we're preaching,
mm,
that we're trying to say, that you don't have to bash another man just because you don't understand him. His sauce is good sauce. My
mm,
sauce is good sauce, you know? they mix, they can co-mingle together to make awesome sauce. So no, you're good, brother, man. I loved it. Listen, this hour went by a
I
little
love
bit
I
too
love
fast for me.
It did.
I love your analogy because one of my favorite sauces from the US is sriracha barbecue sauce. Two sauces together make awesome sauce.
Sriracha burned my ass, so that's good for me.
We had someone say thank you, great answers. So I think they resonated with both of yours. And I really appreciate you both being willing to share on a topic that sometimes gets overlooked or can put you in a vulnerable spot. So I really appreciate the transparency with that and what the experience is like as a man, because again, I will never be able to speak to that piece directly. So thank you guys for weighing in on that. Teddy, where can people find you and your work and anything that you have going on right now that you want to share with them that they might be able to catch up with you on?
Yes, absolutely. So make sure on Instagram, it's Hey Teddy the Comedian. That's Hey Teddy the Comedian, not Hey like hey. It's Hey Teddy the Comedian. I post my shows wherever I'm going to be at, and like we say, each and every Monday. Next week, actually, we're trying to have this good brother from down under to be on. We got to make sure the time is good. But we'll have Miss Courtney back. We had her on last week, so that's at Hey Ted the Comedian. And then the actual page is Men's Mental Health 614. So that's
Oh,
Men's Mental Health 614. We actually have a page, but we just go off of my page or Mr. Pringles. That is my co host at Mr. Pringles the Barber, one of the best barbers. I just want everybody to know he still charges me full price. So I'm just not understanding. So I'm going to cyberbully my barber because I have no clue why he charges the great Teddy the full thing. But like I said, each and every Monday, one of my I'll tell you this, Mr. Andrew, that one of my phrases, we don't ask you to make it to the next holiday. We're not asking you to make it to the next year. We're just asking you to make it to each and every Monday. That's it. Don't worry about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving will come. Make it to the 17th. And if you can't make it to the 17th, make it to the 11th. And once you get to the 11th, make it to the 12th. That's what we ask. We're not asking for a sprint. As much weight as I've lost, I still move a little slow. Marathon. We want you to live not just a good time, not just a short time, but a long time. A long, good time. That's what we ask. So, yeah, each and every Monday, we'll have these two on. I am your favorite comedian. We have a good time. Like I said, last week was just a one off show. I appreciate you too. I needed this. This was healing to me. I
oh,
needed to
good,
be on this show. This was
good.
healing to everybody that listened. This is healing. This is what it's about, getting to that finish line a different way, owning it. I had to own that I was not prepared. Sometimes you're not going to be prepared in life. You're not going to be prepared with that situation, but you own it. You take a deep breath, refresh, refocus, refuel, and then move accordingly. So my next show is a wedding, and they have no clue the comedy they're about to get because I'm gonna put full force on it.
How
Absolutely,
lucky.
absolutely.
Lucky them. Amazing. Well, definitely check out Teddy's page. I love what you are doing, what you and Mr. Pringles are doing. If you're looking for space, we still have the group Grounded, the Embodiment Experience for Men open right now. Doors are closing on the 13th. So before our second session, we're going to be shutting that process down. So if you've been on the fence about it,
Yeah,
there's
I'd
still
love to
some
chat a bit
space.
about this as
Oh,
well.
yeah, go ahead.
The grounded sessions, the group sessions, is about being able to take something that you want to embody and use the sessions as a container in order to process through the things that are preventing you from actually embodying them. We're again, we're coming from this element of perception, and but even more so is when we set an intention in life. This is something I've noticed is that life will start to show the things that are preventing us from having that intention. And this the grounded group sessions is about having that container to allow those things to come up in a safe way and to process through them so that all the visceral imprints that we have that are preventing us from being with it, you can release them, dissolve them, and that way what is left is the space to just step into that thing that you want to embody. Plus, we
That's
have
a
a
good.
great setup of guys like this. we've got the 2 sessions. We've got the US and we've got Australia, New Zealand, which has also got someone from Europe in it. And the Telegram group in the background has actually got everyone together. So there's a community that's starting to build with it too.
Yeah. Yeah, the conversations have just been next level. The depth that they just dropped into is palpable. It's impressive to be a fly on the wall of that conversation. So if you're still looking to find your way into that space, make a move before the 13th. And I'm going to put all the information that you need in the description below, as well as Teddy's information. I appreciate you both so much, and all of you guys that have joined us. The questions, thank you. I've just been watching my phone over here while looking for some questions. So I appreciate everyone. I hope you guys have a really great night.
Thanks.
Bye.